Hi everyone, what's up and welcome back to 31 Nights of Horror. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 1979 Amityville Horror. So I finally was able to watch the Amityville Horror, and this movie has been on my watch list for a long time, but I watched it because I got the Amityville Horror 3-film collection set. There's a fun story time with this collection set, so if you want to hear that, make sure to watch my horror movie collection video because, yeah, I talk about something that happened with this that was just... it was a little bit crazy, so make sure to watch that. You know, I was really excited because the Amityville Horror case is one that I think is really interesting to like investigate and stuff, so I was interested in this movie, and today I'm going to talk about if I thought it worked out or if it didn't work out. So yeah, let's get started. Newlyweds and their 3 children move into a large house where a mass murder was committed. They start to experience strange, inexplicable manifestations which have strong effects on everyone living in or visiting the house. So personally, I don't really think this movie is scary at all. I'd honestly give it like a 2 out of 10 in the scare meter. I'd honestly might even say 0 out of 10, but you know, there is a little bit of moments where I was like actually in suspense, but the movie's not really scary, and that's one of the things that I want to say didn't really work out with me, because I think the case itself is so terrifying, and this movie is not really talking about the case but kind of just what happened afterwards. And I don't know how true this is or whatever, but you know, when a movie says based on true events, I expect something to be super scary. And I don't know if at the time this movie came out, if anybody here watching saw this movie when it came out, let me know what the main audience was thinking, but I don't even think it was scary back then because a lot of this movie felt like a whole lot of nothing. The movie is like about a little under 2 hours, and for the most part, it literally feels like nothing really happens. Like, it's just people going into rooms and screaming and like, I don't know, it's just not scary. And I know that I don't really get scared by a lot of things, but a lot of it feels kind of laughable sometimes, and like, I don't know if that's offensive to the movie or whatever, but yeah, that's kind of just how I felt about it. And the practical effects of this movie have not aged that well, and I feel like sometimes the movie used a little bit of too many special effects, in my opinion, and I love practical effects and stuff, and I think it works great in a lot of movies, but in this case, I feel like it was used a little too much, where I wish we got more character development and actually learned more about the situation, because basically this movie, like, everything kind of just comes out of nowhere. Like, I feel like the entire movie you're waiting to kind of, you know, learn what's happening with the house and stuff, and then something happens that I won't spoil because this is a spoiler-free review, and then it comes out of nowhere, and then the movie literally ends like 20 minutes later, which, by the way, this is one of those movies where I genuinely think they didn't know how to end it, and they just cut a scene and they were like, the end, because that's how it felt. Like, it just escalated so quickly in a way that did not work at all for me, which honestly kind of sucked. You know, when movies end bad, it's kind of like the last thing you're left with. You're like, okay, that's it. And going back to just things coming out of nowhere, there were a lot of loose ends because there's certain things that happened that I think the movie expected us to understand because they explained something else, but in reality it didn't really make sense at all, which was just really weird. But still, I don't want to make it seem like I didn't like this movie, because I feel like this is gonna be one that I'll honestly rewatch a lot because I think it has a rewatchability factor, and the reason I think it is because I love the vibes of this movie. It has like the perfect spooky, like cozy autumn, like fall vibe, and a lot of it is, I think, because the direction actually isn't all that bad, and I think the production design too was pretty good. Like, it just gave me all the vibes that I needed. I was in the mood for a spooky movie, and I watched this, and you know, in a sense, like I said, it wasn't scary, but in a sense, there were still spooky vibes around, which I enjoyed. And Stuart Rosenberg directed this movie, and I really like how he did a lot of the establishing shots. It almost made the house look like it had a face to it, especially with the lighting and stuff, and we saw the house from like a certain angle a lot of times, and I enjoyed kind of seeing the progression of that, because it's almost like if its face, you know, like I'm saying the house does not have a face, but I think they did a good job of making it look like it did. It changes throughout the movie, and I don't know, I just thought that was really interesting, and I think it added a lot, kind of showing that this house is the really big antagonist of the movie. And there were also some editing choices that I think were cool. Sometimes they were a bit cheesy, like there was a few slow-mo shots that I was just like, this is not really it, but at the same time there were other elements into it, like there were shots superimposed and like cuts and stuff that I think made sense to make it as suspenseful as they think it was. Honestly, the acting in this movie is good and bad. I think James Brolin did a really good job, honestly, playing the lead. I thought he did like a really good job in transforming, and I liked how even at the beginning of the movie there were like certain little Easter eggs to show what would kind of happen at the end, which I thought was pretty cool. But No offense to Margaret Kidder, but I don't think her performance was all that good. Like, I think she did, I guess, an okay job, but a lot of it just felt cheesy. I don't know if it was like the script or her acting, but that's kind of how I felt with that. Also, I kind of wish the kids were utilized a little bit more, because I think kids in horror could just be super scary, and I think they were underused, if that makes sense. So I wish they were used a little bit more in the script and stuff. And honestly, even though I said this is one that I might rewatch a lot just because I like the vibes, a lot of the movie felt kind of boring. I mean, that's because the pacing is so weird, but it just goes back to the idea that, like, I feel like nothing happened in this movie. I was at first kind of debating doing a spoiler review or a non-spoiler review, but I didn't do a spoiler review because when I think of plot points that really happen, it just, nothing happens. Like, there's such minimal things that happen, and you know, there are movies where quote-unquote nothing happens but it works, and here, like, no, literally it was just them going around places confused, and there was a wedding. That's what happened in the movie. It's kind of sucks because I feel like with this movie they could have done so much more. I expected so much more from it, and I just thought they could kind of also talk a lot about the original case too. Like, I feel like they started off with that and they almost didn't really talk about it for the rest of the movie. And you know, when the movie's called the Amityville Horror, I kind of think they should have talked about it a little bit more, and there are just so many different things that I guess I would have done if I had made this movie. I just think it's a concept that has so much potential, and unfortunately for the 1979 version, it really didn't work for me. So I'm going to give the Amityville Horror a D. It's officially the lowest rated movie in 31 Nights of Horror, I think, ever. I don't know, I can't remember last year a movie that I rated lower than a C, but yeah, even though it's a D, I still think you guys should watch it and make your own opinion. As always, I always encourage that. But if you have seen the Amityville Horror, let me know what you think about it down below, and who knows, maybe I watch other Amityville Horror movies and we compare and contrast. I think that could also be a lot of fun. Also, I just realized today I didn't turn on my cool little lights back there. I'm really sorry about that. I'll change it for the outro. Thank you guys so much for watching today's review of the Amityville Horror, and thank you all for all of the support on 31 Nights of Horror. Make sure to turn on your post notification because the Scream trailer is gonna drop very soon, everyone. I'm so excited for that to drop, and the moment it drops, there will be a trailer reaction here on the channel. You already know, and I even kind of think I'm gonna do a trailer breakdown, and there's a lot of stuff that they show in the trailer. So yeah, there's a lot of awesome content coming your way, and yeah, thank you guys again so much for watching. You guys are all the best. Have a very spooky afternoon, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye everyone.